If I do, I get the death penalty.
Maybe you deserve it. Open your eyes and look at what you've done!
With Dexter Resurrection coming this summer, what better time would it be to revisit a character that many fans despise? Harrison Morgan had potential to become Dexter's sidekick, but instead chooses to be the hero of the story. To me, Harrison's lack of appeal is more than what he eventually does to his father, and more so a character that didn't meet the fandom's expectations. Today, I want to discuss why everyone hates Harrison, and whether or not he deserves it. We first meet Harrison in episode 1, A Cold Snap. After watching his father from afar, Harrison decides one night to confront him. After letting himself into Dexter's cabin, he waits for him to confess his identity. Despite Dexter visibly recognizing Harrison, he rejects the idea and wishes him luck with his search to find his father. This lie is short-lived, as the next day Dexter finds Harrison at the bus stop and confirms he is his son. Back at the cabin, the two seated at the table aren't sure what to say until Harrison opens up about Hannah and the letter Dexter sent her. It turns out Harrison bounced around foster homes, but was able to find Jim on Instagram, tracking him down to Iron Lake. Unsure of his father's new life, he knows Dexter is hiding the truth from him, and it will stay that way until later in the season. He can't seem to understand Dexter describing himself as an evil person, saying he only has good memories, but the worst thing he ever did was leave him. Since Harrison is staying in town for a while, he attends high school and is even offered to join the wrestling team by Sergeant Logan. Harrison becomes friends with Ethan and defends him against his bully Zach. Later, on FaceTime, Ethan thanks Harrison for what he did and shows him drawings of himself hurting his bullies. The following day at school, Harrison scrolls through the Mary fucking Kill podcast and listens to the Trinity episode describing his mother's death. Filled with rage, is that the right word? He sets up Ethan as a school threat and assaults him. Despite being crowned as a hero by the school, Dexter finds out the truth and realizes Harrison has a dark passenger too. Based on Harrison's daddy issues, he decides to leave Iron Lake, but is stopped by Kurt, who befriends him just to get back at Dexter for icing Matt Coldwell, his son. Soon after, Harrison wins his wrestling match at the competition, but his dark passenger makes a public appearance. Although Kurt congratulates him, Dexter confronts Kurt and tells him to give it a rest. Harrison spends more time with Kurt, even bonding with him, before the runaway killer shows his true colors. Luckily, Dexter saves Harrison, and this experience brings them closer. Dexter tells him about his dark urges and that their origin is unbelievably similar. They talk about Harry, the code, and how they'll work together to channel Harrison's urges. Together, Batman and Robin take care of Kurt, but when they return home, the cabin is burned down. Dexter, however, is later taken to prison for the Bay Harbor butcher case, but ends up escaping by icing Logan. Harrison finds out about Logan's death and understands that Dexter is the problem. He won't change, and the only way to end this is to... With help from Angela, Harrison drives away from the town, smiling as he disappears into the distance.
You know his real name's not even Jim Lindsay?
Why the fuck would I trust you? You abandoned me, and now you get to make all my decisions. He's the one who convinced me to do your stupid fucking chores. You should...
Harrison is so annoying. Now granted, he doesn't act like this all the time, and early in the season his behavior is justified, but there are certain moments that make him unbearable. For instance, after Harrison's assault on Ethan, Dexter is skeptical of what happened, but lets him know he can be trusted. Harrison doesn't trust Dexter because he's living a lie as Jim Lindsay, and is mad because his father won't believe his lie. I get it, he wants the truth from his father, but Dexter is trying with him here. A problem Harrison has is his frustration with Dexter acting like a dad when he's been on his own for so long. But this is exactly what he came to him for. Also, Although Harrison is annoying, let's not forget what Dexter has done to him. For one, he abandoned him for 10 years with a woman he dated for less than a year. 2, once he was found, he acted like he was the wrong guy and sent Harrison packing. 3, he strays from telling Harrison the truth and lies in and out of therapy. If this wasn't fiction and we all weren't biased to Dexter, Harrison would have every right not to make it easy for Dexter because Dexter hasn't made it easy for him. With that being said, on both sides of the argument, you can't deny that his behavior is rational, but not every time. Now, the biggest cause of this character's hatred is the death of Dexter Morgan. A problem the writers face with Dexter is giving him a fair ending that satisfies the fandom. Season 8's ending is regarded to be one of the worst endings in television history, and since they were scared to M him off before, they made the decision to M him off in New Blood. So they were presented with the question, who would be the one to send Mr. Morgan to the Shadow Realm? Angela, our protagonist's new girlfriend, is a small-time cop who finds out his secret, but would be far too in over her head to take out the Butcher. Kurt, a formidable antagonist, would be stepping into deep waters, being the first villain to prevent the show's ritual and prevent episode 9, one of the best episodes in the series. But Harrison Morgan, the son of Kyle Butler, on paper, is the only choice that makes sense. Harrison is the key to stopping the cancer that can't stop spreading and is the perfect money printing vessel for the story to continue. After all, what other show made this decision and received zero backlash? Though a smart move, it would have been a great move to end Dexter's story this way if it wasn't rushed. Harrison in the last 2 episodes is as close as he could ever be with his father. He finally has the truth, closure for his mother's death, and someone he can relate to. Then, not a second later, there was no setup for Harrison to be the one to do the job. And his sense of justice being the one to end the cycle comes from thin air. Not to mention, he could have just let Dexter run in hopes of him getting caught or realizing that his father really is a monster. Set up properly, this would have made sense, but the only way it could have leads me to my next point. One aspect I love about New Blood is that it shows how Dexter reacts to his son having dark urges. If my memory holds up, in season 3 Dexter doesn't want a child at first because his fear is his offspring ending up like him. To Dexter, children are pure, and if he ever had one, his darkness would rub off on them. Later, he ends up having a son, but does everything in his power to make sure he turns out normal, even going as far as abandoning his child in order to protect him. Do you guys remember when Dexter found Harrison's blade? At first he seems distressed, but when we look closer, he smiles. The loneliness of Dexter has always been interesting to me, as we know no one could ever accept the real him. But what if his son was just like him? What if he could teach Harrison the code and show him how to live? Sound familiar? It's almost disturbing to see Dexter attempt to groom Harrison into someone he's not, into him. We know Harrison is troubled and does have violent tendencies, but I believe he isn't capable of icing people, unless Resurrection changes that. We get little hints that suggest this with his reaction to Kurt's blood and his initial reaction to Dexter's truth. Man, this was great. And if Dexter's life was revealed to Harrison a little earlier in the season, it could have built up towards the death of Dexter almost perfectly. Tell me I'm lying. So did Harrison actually deserve the hate? Well, it's complicated. I think many people forget that Harrison was abandoned, but at the same time he can be very annoying. In terms of expectations for the character, just because he doesn't end up as the sidekick doesn't make him bad. It's actually a good thing. We get to see a different side to Dexter, and his attempt to groom his son was unsettling. Finally, Dexter's death was extremely rushed, but who else could have done it? Even though I don't have any form of hatred towards Harrison, I understand the lack of appeal towards the fandom. New Blood is one of the best seasons of Dexter, and it sucks the writers can't give this man the send-off he deserves. Maybe Resurrection will fix that, but I think Michael C. Hall will be doing this till he's 90. Either way, Let's all see if Harrison gets the justice he deserves this time around. If you enjoy hearing why despised characters are hated by all, follow the first rule of the code and subscribe. It may seem small to you, but it means the world to me. Have an amazing day.